if you're managing your diet for diabetes the wrong way, you can actually end up making your blood sugar worse. I'm sure that's a statement that many of you watching this can deeply relate to. You've probably tried everything. You've sought out all the foods that are supposed to be good for you. Maybe you've even spent a small fortune on nutritional supplements, all in an effort to lower your blood sugar, and yet, despite all your efforts, those numbers just won't budge. It's frustrating. It's disheartening. What if I told you that all of those efforts might have been in vain? What if I told you that the real key to managing your blood sugar isn't about what you add to your diet, but about what you avoid and, most importantly, how you eat? My name is Dr. Richard Suzuki. I am 85 years old. For the past 45 years, I've not only treated countless patients, but I've also used my own body as a living laboratory. I've met people struggling with all kinds of chronic illnesses, from diabetes to high blood pressure, and I've recommended and personally practiced numerous dietary therapies. Some of them were effective. Others actually caused more harm than good. Through all these experiences, I have arrived at one firm and unshakable conclusion. The foods that heal our bodies do not need to be special or expensive. In fact, it is the simple, ordinary ingredients that we can easily find in our local grocery store that often create the most miraculous changes. The 4 ingredients I'm about to share with you are common vegetables you can buy for just a few dollars at any supermarket. I have personally witnessed with my own eyes how patients who consistently incorporated these vegetables into their diet saw their pancreas regain its vitality and their blood sugar levels stabilize. These people weren't on expensive nutritional plans or complicated diets. They simply made a conscious effort to add a little more of these ordinary vegetables to their daily meals. If you want to lower your blood sugar and revitalize your pancreas, then please listen closely to what I have to say. This one small change has the power to completely transform the rest of your life. Let me ask you, what did you have for lunch today? Was it a balanced meal with rice, soup, and some side dishes? Or did you have something quick and easy, like a sandwich or a bowl of pasta? Please, tell me what you had for lunch in the comments. My experience in medicine has taught me that finding common ground in our shared stories is the first step toward healing. I have a younger sister, Miyoko, who turned 74 this year. As the youngest of us 3 siblings, I've always worried about her. Miyoko was always busy taking care of her grandchildren, and she often told me she was too busy to eat properly. Her meals were irregular, and she would often just grab whatever was convenient. Last year, the look on her face after she received her health checkup results was grim. Her hemoglobin A1C was 7, and her fasting blood sugar was nearly 150. She was at a level where she needed to start medication immediately. Miyoko couldn't understand it. "Brother," she said to me, her voice filled with confusion, "I barely even eat rice. How can my blood sugar be this high?" I asked her to walk me through her daily eating habits. It turned out that while Miyoko ate very little rice, she was constantly snacking on the food she bought for her grandchildren: crackers, bread, cookies, and other things made from refined flour. She believed that because she was avoiding rice, her blood sugar would be fine. I didn't recommend a complex diet plan for her. Instead, I gave her 2 very simple pieces of advice. First, I told her, before you eat your main meal, you must first eat a sufficient amount of vegetables, like spinach or daikon radish. Second, every morning, on an empty stomach, you must eat 3 or 4 fermented soybeans natto. I assured my sister that even these 2 small habits would create a noticeable change. Though she was skeptical at first, she trusted me and began to try. Every morning, she ate a few fermented soybeans, and at every meal, she made sure her plate had a side of shredded daikon radish or boiled spinach. 3 months passed. When Miyoko went back to the hospital for her follow-up tests, she couldn't hide her astonishment. Her hemoglobin A1C had dropped to 5, and she told me that the constant tingling and numbness she had been feeling in her hands and feet had almost completely disappeared. She had tears in her eyes as she thanked me. Managing your blood sugar doesn't have to be some monumental complicated task, even a small change in your habits can produce a tremendous effect. Now, a small word of warning. Please, listen to everything I have to say until the very end. If you click away from this video halfway through, you will miss the overall flow and logic of this approach. To ensure you don't miss the core information and the practical methods I'm about to share, please watch this video to its conclusion. Subscribing to the channel and liking the video is a great source of strength for me, and it helps this message reach more people. By the time you finish watching, you will understand exactly why you need to change your diet. Starting today, so let's take a look at the 4 specific ingredients that revitalized my sister's pancreas. 4 foods to rejuvenate your pancreas. Spinach, the foundational green. Spinach is a basic vegetable, one we often eat as a simple side dish. But when it comes to blood sugar management, it is an absolute powerhouse. Spinach is rich in vitamins, iron, and calcium, but it is also packed with powerful antioxidants. Most importantly, it is incredibly high in dietary fiber, which makes it an excellent vegetable for slowing down the rise in blood sugar after a meal. I remember a 7-8-year-old patient of mine, Mrs. Hanako Tanaka. She told me she was doing her best to manage her diabetes, but her post-meal blood sugar levels were always spiking over 200, which caused her a great deal of anxiety. Even with her medication, she felt constantly on edge. Instead of a complicated diet plan, I suggested she do one simple thing: add spinach to every meal. I told her to make a large batch of boiled spinach and to eat a portion of it before she started her rice and other dishes. I also suggested she add plenty of spinach to her miso soup. Mrs. Tanaka followed my advice. By eating the boiled spinach first, she found that she felt full much sooner. This naturally led her to eat smaller portions of rice and other side dishes, which prevented that sharp post-meal spike in her blood sugar. After 3 months, Mrs. Tanaka's A1C had dropped by more than a full point, and she was overjoyed. I feel so much lighter, she told me, a smile on her face. There is one important thing to remember when you're eating spinach. While spinach itself is great for your blood sugar, the way you prepare it matters. If you add too much seasoning, you can inadvertently increase the calorie count. Be especially careful with sesame oil, sugar, and soy sauce. It's best to keep the seasoning to a minimum. Think about the lunch you had today. What side dishes did you have? If you didn't have enough vegetables, how about making sure to put some spinach on your table tomorrow? Are bean sprouts the isoflavone powerhouse? Bean sprouts are rich in a plant-based estrogen called isoflavones and an anti-inflammatory compound called saponin. Isoflavones help to improve the action of insulin, while saponins reduce inflammation, which helps to protect the function of your pancreas. As an inferior-old patient, Mrs. Haruko Yamada came to my hospital because she was struggling to manage her blood sugar. Her post-meal readings were always unstable, and it was a great source of stress for her. I recommended a diet therapy that made heavy use of bean sprouts. I suggested she make a simple bean sprout soup with every meal, eat boiled bean sprouts as a side dish, and even add them to her rice to make bean sprout rice. Mrs. Yamada started eating bean sprouts with every meal, and she could feel the difference herself. Her post-meal blood sugar levels began to stabilize. When she made bean sprout rice, she would reduce the amount of rice and add more bean sprouts. The rich dietary fiber in the sprouts slowed down the absorption of sugar, which prevented the post-meal spike. A word of caution when preparing bean sprouts: if you add too much sesame oil or other seasonings, you can easily increase the calorie and fat content. It's best to use minimal seasoning and enjoy the natural flavor of the ingredient. Which side dish was most prominent on your plate for lunch today? If you had a dish of bean sprouts, you've already done something wonderful for your health. Sen, daikon radish. The digestive protector, daikon radish is a common vegetable, but its benefits are anything but ordinary. Daikon is rich in mucin, which protects the mucus lining of the stomach, and digestive enzymes like esterase, which aid in digestion. This can be a great help for the indigestion and bloating that many diabetic patients experience. Furthermore, its high water content helps you feel full, which is effective in reducing overall meal size. An 8-year-old patient, Mr. Kenikisato, was always suffering from post-meal bloating and a feeling of heaviness. He felt so uncomfortable after eating that his blood sugar management had become secondary to his digestive distress. I advised Mr. Sato to actively incorporate daikon radish into his diet. I suggested he add a small portion of finely shredded raw daikon to every meal and to make some simple pickled daikon. Mr. Sato followed my advice and ate daikon consistently. He found that the crisp, crunchy texture of the raw daikon not only stimulated his appetite, but also made him feel full, so he naturally ate less. The heavy, uncomfortable feeling after meals disappeared. As his digestion improved, his blood sugar stopped spiking, and he said he felt much lighter. There is one crucial point to remember with daikon. Pickled radishes that are made with a lot of salt and sugar should be avoided as much as possible. It's best to eat it raw, thinly sliced, or to add it to soups and stews. Was there any daikon radish on your plate at lunch today? If not, how about adding some to your dinner table tonight? C. Natto fermented soybeans. The double action food. Natto is a food made by fermenting soybeans. The beneficial bacteria and protein created during fermentation have an excellent effect on lowering insulin resistance. It also improves gut health, aids in the absorption of nutrients, and is great for relieving constipation. An 8-year-old patient, Mrs. Yonko Suzuki, was very worried about her high fasting blood sugar every morning. Even with medication, her morning numbers wouldn't improve, and it was a great source of distress for her. I suggested that Mrs. Suzuki try eating a few natto beans on an empty stomach in the morning. I explained that the beneficial bacteria would help improve her gut environment and support insulin secretion. Mrs. Suzuki listened to my advice and started eating 3 or 4 natto beans immediately after waking up. After about a month, she could feel her blood sugar stabilizing. Her fasting blood sugar dropped from 130 down to 110. And as a bonus, her chronic constipation was resolved, and she was delighted by how much lighter she felt. A note on preparing natto: while you can cook with it, be careful not to boil it for too long, as this can kill the beneficial bacteria. It's most effective to eat it raw or in a supplement form. Is natto a regular part of your diet? These 4 foods are the cornerstones, but now let's look at the things many people overlook when it comes to a diabetic diet. 4 overlooked truths of a diabetic diet. E. A healthy food that doesn't suit your body is a poison. So many people hear that a certain food is healthy and they start eating it indiscriminately. But in medicine, the most important standard is this: is this food right for me? Over my 45 years of practice, I have consulted on the diets of countless patients, and I have seen time and time again how even a perfectly healthy person can have a bad reaction to a specific food, experiencing stomach aches, diarrhea, or even hives. Foods like nuts, dairy products, and certain vegetables can cause highly individual reactions. One person might feel bloated after drinking soy milk. Another might get an itchy rash from eating tomatoes. One of my patients, a 69-year-old woman named Yoko Takahashi, I heard that cabbage was good for her and started eating it every single day. But instead of feeling better, she felt bloated and gassy, and her blood sugar became more unstable. It was only after she stopped eating the cabbage that her levels stabilized. If you eat something and afterwards you feel heavy, uncomfortable, or unusually tired, that is a warning sign from your body. Forcing yourself to eat something just because you heard it's good for diabetes can actually make your condition worse. I always tell my patients, a good food is a food that your body accepts. Think about the meal you ate for lunch today. Was there anything that made you feel uncomfortable? If so, it might not just be a simple digestive issue. It could be your body's signal that you need to take a break from that particular food. The habit of observing and adjusting to your body's reactions is a far more effective blood sugar management technique than any expensive supplement. Or, simply changing the order of your food changes your blood sugar. A very common habit in our food culture is to start a meal with carbohydrates, rice, bread, potatoes. Many older people have a saying that rice is the source of our strength. But for managing diabetes, this habit can be a poison. When you eat carbohydrates, they are immediately broken down into glucose and absorbed into your bloodstream. This causes your blood sugar to rise sharply, and your pancreas has to work overtime, without a break, to secrete insulino. When this process is repeated over and over, the pancreas becomes exhausted and insulin resistance develops, but you can achieve a surprisingly different result just by changing the order in which you eat. I always tell my patients the rule: vegetables first, protein second, and carbohydrates last. When you eat this way, the dietary fiber from the vegetables slows down the absorption of sugar. The protein gives you a sense of satiety, which prevents you from overeating the carbohydrates. A 72-year-old patient of mine, Mr. Masao Watanabe, found that even when he ate only 2/3 of his usual portion of rice, he felt just as full by following this order. It feels strange at first, but after about a week, it becomes a habit and your blood sugar will stabilize. This eating order is effective not just for diabetes, but also for managing high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and obesity. What did you eat first at lunch today? If it was rice or soup, I recommend that tomorrow you start with a vegetable side dish. You will surely see a change in your blood sugar just by changing that one small thing. Sam, the cooking method changes the sugar content, even with the same ingredient. The way you cook it can drastically change how your body reacts to it. A classic example is the potato. A boiled potato has a relatively low glycemic index, under 60, but a French fry has a glycemic index that soars to over 90. This is because the cooking process removes water and adds oil, changing the potato structure so that it is absorbed much more quickly. This principle applies to many vegetables as well. If you stir fry or deep fry spinach or bean sprouts, they will absorb oil and their calorie content and absorption speed will increase. On the other hand, if you lightly boil them and eat them as a simple side dish, their dietary fiber remains intact and they will have the effect of suppressing a rise in blood sugar. The amount of seasoning you use is also critical. Many of us try to eat lightly seasoned food, but even a small amount of soy sauce, miso, or salt can significantly increase your overall sodium and sugar intake. Be especially careful with soups and side dishes, where seasonings can quickly add up. A 7-year-old patient, Keiko Kobayashi, often ate miso soup, but she had a habit of drinking every last drop of the broth. As a result, her blood pressure wouldn't come down. After I advised her to only eat the solid ingredients in her soup and to prepare her daikon and bean sprouts by simply boiling them, both her blood pressure and her blood sugar stabilized. What was the saltiest or most heavily seasoned food you had for lunch today? High blood sugar is a problem, but salty food damages your blood vessels even faster. Boiling and steaming, with minimal seasoning, is a much better approach for managing your blood sugar. So, managing fasting blood sugar starts with satiety. Your fasting blood sugar is not just a number, it is the starting point for your entire day's blood sugar journey. If your morning blood sugar is high, it's often difficult to regulate it for the rest of the day. You should be especially careful if your liver tends to release a lot of glucose overnight, or if you get hungry and eat a snack in the middle of the night. Most people with unstable fasting blood sugar feel intense hunger late at night or early in the morning. If, at that moment, you reach for something high in sugar like bread, cookies, or a banana without thinking, your blood sugar will skyrocket. If this is repeated, your pancreas will become even more exhausted and your insulin resistance will worsen. This is where natto fermented soybeans can be incredibly useful. Eating just a few beans on an empty stomach can help control hunger, thanks to the beneficial bacteria and protein, which can lead to naturally eating less. My 8-year-old patient, Mrs. Matsumoto, found that after she started eating natto between meals, her snacking completely stopped, and her blood sugar stabilized by nearly 30 points. Foods rich in water and fiber, like daikon, radish, and bean sprouts, can also help to control hunger. A small bowl of soup or a side of boiled vegetables in the morning can play a role in curbing your appetite for the rest of the day. When did you feel hungriest after lunch today? And what did you eat at that time? Instead of reaching for bread, crackers, or cookies, try preparing a satisfying snack like a hard boiled egg, some cherry tomatoes, or a dish of boiled daikon. This is the most practical way to prevent a blood sugar explosion. These 4 points are the basics of a diabetic diet, but they are surprisingly overlooked by many people. I encourage you to try practicing them one by one. Starting today, your diet for diabetes doesn't have to be special. It just has to be wise and consistent. A final word from my heart: the 4 foods I talked about today, spinach, bean sprouts, daikon radish, and natto, are ordinary, inexpensive ingredients that you can find anywhere, but when eaten consistently, these humble foods have the amazing power to rejuvenate your pancreas and stabilize your blood sugar. Spinach provides satiety with its fiber and protects the pancreas with its antioxidant effects. Bean sprouts help with insulin action and reduce inflammation. Daikon radish protects the health of your stomach with its digestive enzymes and prevents overeating with its high water content. And finally, natto promotes insulin secretion and protects your gut health, giving you 2 benefits in one. But no matter how many good foods you eat, it will all be meaningless if you don't correct your bad eating habits. Over my 45 years of practice, I have seen a common thread among patients whose blood sugar is poorly controlled. They all have certain foods they can't seem to give up: white rice, flour, sugar, and sticky rice cakes. They are easy and delicious, but they are the main culprits behind sharp spikes in blood sugar. Blood sugar regulation is not just a numbers game, it is a lifestyle issue. How you eat and how consistently you practice it are far more important than what you eat. I am 85 years old now. Sitting in my office and seeing patients is still my daily routine. Many people ask me for the secret to my health, and I always give the same answer. I make sure to follow at least one small, healthy practice in my daily diet. That's all: adding a little spinach to a meal, grating some raw daikon to eat as a side, eating a few fermented soybeans on an empty stomach. These small, seemingly insignificant actions accumulate and create a big change. Don't try to do everything at once. I recommend you change just one thing, starting with your dinner tonight. For example, try adding one side dish of shredded daikon radish. That alone is a powerful start. The pain of failed blood sugar control is immense. In my clinic, I have seen too many people who have suffered from numb limbs, blurred vision, and declining heart and kidney function to the point of needing dialysis. A small wound becomes infected, heals slowly, and the risk of further infection makes them afraid to go outside or even meet people. In severe cases, they become afraid to even share a meal with their family, and they feel a sense of guilt every time they eat a single snack. Diabetes is not just a disease of blood sugar numbers. It is a disease that destroys the quality of your entire life. On the other hand, those who consistently practice correct eating habits live a completely different life. The numbness in their hands and feet disappears, and they start walking again. With clear eyes, they can see their grandchildren's faces more vividly. The heaviness in their bodies lifts, and they can enjoy going for walks again. The happiness of sharing a meal with their family at the dinner table, that is the true reward of blood sugar control. A good eating habit is not just an effort for your health. It is a path to rediscovering the joy of life. Doctor, how can I do this every single day? It's so tedious and tiring. Whenever I get this question, I always answer this way: don't try to be perfect. Just try to continue little by little, every day, without giving up. We don't have to be perfect. We just have to try to make our meals a little bit better tomorrow than they were today. Buying a bundle of spinach at the supermarket, grating one radish to add to your side dishes, eating a few fermented soybeans in the morning. These small, simple practices will ultimately revitalize your pancreas and protect your blood sugar. In my next video, I'll introduce a morning routine that can stabilize your blood sugar in just 5 minutes. It's a simple lifestyle habit that can produce definite results if you continue with it. I hope you'll look forward to it. What did you eat for lunch today? And among the things we've talked about, what is the first habit you would like to change? If you leave your thoughts in the comments, I will do my best to offer some helpful advice based on my experience. Thank you.